Okay, so a foreign government secretly sends $500 million into the Trump family crypto business just 4 days before his inauguration. Then, that same country gets access to America's most advanced AI computer chips. And when asked if he'll investigate what looks like obvious corruption, the Treasury Secretary dodges the question and starts talking about a trip to Venezuela from 18 years ago, because apparently changing the subject is now official policy. So here's what happened. Representative Gregory Meeks, during a House Financial Services Committee hearing today, asked Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent a very simple yes or no question. Would he investigate a UAE-connected investment in Trump's crypto company, World Liberty Financial? Instead of answering, Bessent basically turned into a cable news talking head and started ranting about Venezuela. As usual, let's watch this showdown, and I will give you my breakdown at the end.
Secretary Bessent, if I'm not mistaken, you were working in the financial service industry during the late 1980s, correct?
I was.
Thank you. And well, I'm wondering, do you recall or you're knowledgeable of the Keating 5 scandal back then?
Yes, sir, and I will point out that I was...
I don't want to...
No, I will point out that I identified...
The gentleman is from, Mr. Secretary, it's the gentleman from New York Times.
So I just want to make sure that everyone knows, who doesn't know, that the Keating 5 scandal involved 5 U.S. senators accused of pressuring the Federal Home Loan Bank Board to expedite and give more consideration to the case of Charles Keating, Jr., who ran the California-based Lincoln Savings and Loans. It led to a 14-month investigation unveiling how 5 U.S. senators and staff ended up with more than $1 million in contributions, 4 trips to the Bahamas, and all expenses paid stays at resort hotels. Following the scandal, the industry saw sweeping regulatory changes that was launched by then-President George H.W. Bush. Now, Mr. Secretary, I'm sure you can agree conflicts of interest and improper influence by U.S. elected officials over bank regulators weaken supervisory independence and ultimately impose massive losses on consumers and taxpayers. I think that we can all agree upon that. And as we know, the basic lessons from the post-Keating reforms still applies today when the Office of the Comptroller of Currency, the OCC, is deciding to get a bank charter. I think we can stimulate that. Now, Mr. Bessent, as our nation's treasurer, I'm sure you also know that a foreign-linked investment firm tied to the United Arab Emirates government quietly bought about half of the Trump family's crypto company, World Liberty Financial. And at the very same time, the President of the United States was dealing with that country on foreign policy. Now, Eric Trump, the president's son and co-founder of World Liberty Financial, said, and I quote, "I'm not going to get into who the investors are, but I've got some pretty meaningful investors," end of quote. Lack of transparency. And it didn't end there. When Trump fans brought the tokens, they thought they were getting the deal of a century. But what they didn't know was that only Trump and his sons had the sole power to decide who can sell the token and when. Today, the price of the token has fallen over 50%, and the Trump fans who bought the token are now begging to get out. Now, I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. You can see it for yourself on the World Liberty Financial Discussion Forum, yourself, Mr. Secretary. So this is no longer just about a shady crypto deal or a possible gift when a foreign-linked investor is putting hundreds of millions of dollars into a company controlled by the president's family, and at the same time, this president is conducting foreign policy with that country. You know what that creates? It creates a national security concern. So, I'm not going to ask much of you, Mr. Secretary. I just want to know whether you will commit today to pause and heighten the scrutiny of any bank charter or licensing application at the OCC connected to the World Liberty Financial until all of these conflicts of interest and foreign influence reviews are completed and shared with the United States Congress. All I need to know is, will you halt it and do a complete investigation and scrutiny of this licensing application? All you have to ask is yes or no.
No, Congressman.
All you have to ask
the
is yes or no.
OCC is an independent entity, and I would know, Congressman,
so I take that as a no.
You traveled to Venezuela to lobby
I take that as a no.
Chavez on behalf of
I
your
take that
donor,
as a
on
no.
behalf of your
You
donor.
do not want to answer that question. I take that as a no.
For a $7 billion
Gentlemen's
contract.
time
I'm asking you to do your responsibility as Secretary of the Treasury.
Into a Venezuelan
You do not.
Mr. Meeks,
Will you?
time has expired.
You
Well,
cannot
you
erase
told the
what you
witness,
did in
He's the one that went
2006.
past your time, Mr. Chairman.
No, and
he did not answer my question, and he wouldn't pass the
Mr.
time.
Meeks. He had 6 seconds left to try to answer your question, and the
It was
time
a yes or
expired.
no. It was a yes or no answer. I asked him, will he? No, it was
Gentlemen,
yes
the
or
chair
no.
recognizes
OCC
the
is an
gentleman.
independent
Stop
agency.
Mr.
covering
Bessent.
for the president.
Yeah, well,
Stop
Mr.
being
Bessent.
his flunky.
yeah, and
Gentlemen.
He's talking to me. I'm responding
your
back to him.
2006 trip to Venezuela.
Neither
Why
one-
don't
Stop
why don't you
covering
tell
for
your
the
secretary
president.
about
Don't be a
that?
flunky. Work for the American
Secretary,
people.
Mr. Meeks.
Trip to
Mr.
Venezuela.
Meeks.
Work for the American people.
And maybe
Don't
you're
be
going-
a
maybe you're
cover-up
going to-
for a mob.
Maybe you're going to
As
see your
long as
friend
he talked,
Nicholas
you talk.
I
Maduro
will.
in
Gentleman is
Brooklyn
not
prison.
recognized. Mr. Bessent, please. I recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Sessions.
If you watched that and thought that was a simple question and he refused to answer it, you're exactly right, and there's more you didn't see that makes it look even worse. According to the Wall Street Journal, 4 days before Trump's inauguration in January 2025, an investment firm connected to Sheikh Tahnoon bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the UAE's national security advisor, nicknamed the Spy Sheikh, bought a 49% share of World Liberty Financial for $500 million. Eric Trump signed the deal. The Trump family got $187 million right away. Let me repeat that. The president's family got $187 million from a foreign government official just days before Trump took office. And it gets worse. According to ABC News and CNBC, only months later, the Trump administration agreed to sell the UAE 500,000 of America's most advanced AI chips every year. The Biden administration had refused to sell them those same chips because of national security risks, worried they could end up in China's hands. These chips help power some of the most advanced weapons systems we have. About 1/5 of those chips are going to G42, an AI company run by the same sheikh who just gave the Trump family nearly $200 million. Meeks then asked Bessent to pause any bank license requests from World Liberty Financial until these possible conflicts of interest could be looked into. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, or OCC, is the government office that decides whether companies are allowed to operate as banks. It's supposed to make sure they follow safety, financial, and ethical rules. World Liberty Financial has applied for a special bank license that would let them handle and trade people's money. Here's the thing. Bessent said the OCC is independent. Technically, that's true. But the head of the OCC is chosen by the president and reports to the Treasury Secretary. So saying, I can't do anything, doesn't really hold up. Of course, he can ask for closer review when something looks suspicious. That's called oversight, not interference. But instead of saying, yes, we should look into whether the president's family taking $187 million from a foreign government is a problem. Bessent brought up Meeks' trip to Venezuela in 2006. Let's be clear about that. Meeks did travel to Venezuela back then to thank Hugo Chavez for providing discounted heating oil to low-income Americans. Later, there were claims that a businessman involved in a fraud case asked Meeks to speak to Chavez for him. Meeks was investigated and never charged with anything, and that was 18 years ago. So Bessent's argument is basically, I won't answer your question about money flowing to the president's family because you went on a trip nearly 2 decades ago. That's not a defense. It's avoiding the question. When someone asks about a serious national security issue and you start digging up old stories about them, it usually means you don't have a real answer. Here's what's really going on. World Liberty Financial's crypto token has lost about half its value since it launched. Investors are reportedly trying to get out. The company raised $500 million selling these tokens, but Trump and his sons are the only ones who decide who can sell and when. So, regular investors are stuck, while the Trump family already walked away with $187 million from the UAE. This isn't complicated. A foreign official gave the president's family nearly $200 million. Soon after, that country got access to sensitive, military-level technology that had previously been blocked. When asked to look into whether those things are connected, the Treasury Secretary refuses to answer and changes the subject. That's not leadership. It looks like a cover-up. And Meeks called it out. So what does this mean for you? When foreign governments can buy influence by sending money to the president's family businesses, everyday Americans lose. Decisions stop being about what's best for the country and start being about what's best for the president's wallet. It's like finding out your financial advisor is secretly getting paid to push certain investments. Suddenly their advice doesn't seem so trustworthy. Experts say if China gets these chips through the UAE, it could help them launch cyber attacks, build smarter weapons, and catch up to the US military. That's not exaggeration. That's what security specialists warn could happen. And this isn't just about one shady crypto deal. It's about whether our banking system follows rules or whether it's just favors for the president's friends and family. Back in the 1980s, 5 senators pressured regulators to go easy on a banker named Charles Keating. That scandal led to a long investigation, new laws, and billions of dollars in losses for taxpayers. And that was just politicians asking for favors. Now, we're talking about the president's family directly taking $187 million from a foreign government. For what? Not for national security, not for protecting American technology. According to the reports, it looks like it was just to make money and prop up a struggling crypto project, while regular investors lose cash and the founders stay in control. The Constitution was supposed to stop exactly this kind of foreign money influencing our leaders, but that safeguard seems ignored now. Here's where things stand. The story is out, several senators are calling for investigations, and World Liberty Financial is still trying to get its bank license, while Bessent won't promise to look into anything. This isn't about a trip to Venezuela in 2006. It's about whether the Treasury Secretary works for the American people or protects the president's family. And based on that hearing, the answer seems clear. If your only reply to "will you investigate this" is to bring up something from 18 years ago, you don't have a defense. The sad part is how normal this feels now. The president's family takes $187 million from a foreign government. That government gets sensitive technology, and the Treasury Secretary just shouts over anyone asking questions. That's not government. It looks more like protection for insiders. If this made you angry, good. That means you're paying attention. Hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and stay informed when stories like this break. Share this with someone who still thinks corruption can't happen here, because the only thing they're counting on is people not paying attention. Thanks for watching, and bye.